Okay, hello everyone. Happy to get going. I know it's been a bit delayed, so sorry about that. So what I'm going to talk about today is obviously the road to becoming a world champion. And as Martin said, spoiler alert, we made it. So that's the punchline. So if you need to go now, that's fine. No, so it's round one of the Skydiving World Championships. And my team and I are in the aeroplane above the Arizona desert preparing to start the competition. The team has been together for many years, but 2022 was a particularly tough year. We set goals at the start of the year to do the best we can do and to become world champions. And we did absolutely everything that we could in order to achieve that. So back to the aeroplane is a 2-minute warning. The helmets are on, we've checked our equipment, we've done the team handshakes, and we're ready to go. In the plane with us, it's a Twin Otter. There are 2 other teams. It's the French and the American female teams. Both of these teams are formidable. They have beaten us in various competitions before over the years. But, and so we know what we're up against, and we've kind of visualized and we've prepared ourselves for this. But kind of despite the noises of the plane, there was like a kind of a silence, and there were nervous glances I noticed going between the other teams. This time for us, for me particularly, it was different. I was able to smile across at my teammates and say, we've got this. So, how it began. I'm sure everyone's got incredible skydiving stories. I've been skydiving for over 30 years now. Yikes. No. I know, I started as a child. 9,200 jumps I've done. Why on earth would anyone jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane? Freshers week at university, I think I probably had a bit too much beer and was wandering around the activities stands, and actually I was on my way to the kayaking because I was really quite into kayaking. I thought that would be cool. But next to it was the parachute club, you know, and I thought, oh, geez, that looks amazing. I just want to go and do one jump. Let me see what it's like, getting an experience for it. So obviously I headed out to Hibbleston, I think it was, and because we were students, we got to do the luxury of round parachute jumping. So it was October or something, absolutely freezing, and jumping out of some tiny aeroplane, crashing into the runway, I remember, actually, on the landing, because the parachutes are not so steerable. But what I realized, the people at the Skydiving Club were incredible. And I just realized that it was a proper sport. You know, it's not just a fairground ride. There was more, so much more to it. I could see there were teams, there were competitions being advertised, and the sort of camaraderie was just really quite incredible. So I thought, right, I need to go back for another one, etc. So I did about 12 round jumps, and then I moved to South Africa to study at the University of Cape Town, and immediately went out to the Skydiving Club the first minute I got there. And they could not believe that England was so backward and was still jumping around parachutes, because that wasn't something they did. So I did the first jump course again there, and went through the static line progression there. It's a bit of an urban legend. I'm very competitive, and I like to win stuff, and I was very aware, even in South Africa, that there was like this competition element was really quite important, and I thought I want to be part of that. There's a little bit of an urban legend with one of the guys who was my instructor on that first jump course, and he tells anyone he can that at the end of the course, I said to him, I'm going to become a world champion. Now, I'm pretty sure that I said, I'm going to win stuff. You know, this is what I want to be. I want to be national champion. I want to be whatever it is, and sort of work my way up. So, but that's quite, oh, hold on. So what is formation skydiving? I think most of you have at least done, oh, maybe, not everyone has done a bit of formation skydiving. It's, we get that thing to work? Hold on, there is a video there. There you go. So it's 4 people and a camera. That's what I do, 4-way formation skydiving. You've got 35 seconds in a competition to do as many formations as possible. These are prescribed formations that you practice on the ground before you go up to jump. And you want to do as many as possible in time, and then you track away at a safe altitude, open your parachute, and you land it. You use your arms and legs to move. It's a sprint. It's all about building the formations correctly. It's not about looking good or the artistic, there's no points for that. It's literally just points for every single formation that you build. So it's very physical. It's about moving your body. And it's also, there's a very large mental aspect because you need to remember the skydive. There obviously, anyone who's skydived knows it's impossible to communicate in freeform, impossible to talk. And the other point is that even if you could talk to each other, you don't have the time because you want to be turning 20 points in that space of 35 seconds. So there's quite a lot to work on. The other thing to note is that with most four-way teams, you are just the 4 people plus the camera person. There is no, you don't have a huge bench of reserves that you can slot in and out of the team. And it's so important that you've practiced and you fly and that you work together that you don't have a reserve. You can register an alternate at a competition, but normally that person will not have trained with you. Right. So now I'm going to talk about my incredible team because they are just the most amazing people. So this is NFTO. It's not for the ordinary. It's the British Female Formation Skydiving Team. So if you see the picture on the left-hand side is Sian Stokes. I mean, I know everyone kind of knows these people, but Sian is a full-time skydiver. She's an incredible coach, instructor. She organises events. She works as a stunt double. She works on movie sets, etc., etc. She worked on Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. In fact, her and her work partner, actually taught him how, he needed to get current again in skydiving. So they actually taught him how to skydive. And then they worked on quite a lot of the movie set doing the safety jumpers. So they would jump out behind the cameraman, in case anything went wrong. Kath works for the NHS. She's a dietitian. So she has a proper full-time job, works 9 to 5, has the standard amount of leave that you're going to get with the NHS. So huge commitment from her in order to train with us. Myself, I'm a sports therapist. I'm also a mother and a skydiving coach. So I'm fortunate that I get to sort of be fairly flexible, but obviously what that means is that you are away from home quite often, which I don't think my children actually mind, but I'd like to think they would. Anna, on the right-hand side, is a doctor. She's in the military, or just retired from the military, actually. And she also does a lot of skydiving instruction, AFF coaching, etc. And she's a specialist in sort of high-altitude work. So she also worked on the Mission Impossible movie, and she was the safety, the doctor, basically, who used to sit next to Tom in the aeroplane, and he would, because they were going to 18,000 foot, they obviously had to record his oxygen levels, etc. So she would sit next to him, monitor him, and everything else. Now he's a pretty fit guy and quite a professional. And the thing that he was most worried about, that Anna had to help him with, was how his fringe looked in his helmet. So, and then we have the incredible Simon, who is our camera person, very much a part of the team. He's a website designer, but in terms of the team, he is the one that captures the footage. That footage then gets taken to the judges to be judged. If he makes a mistake, it means we don't get the points. So he's just as much part of the team as the rest of us. And then we had an incredible coach for 2022, just that outside person who worked with us, helped help puzzle the jumps physically, also helped make sure the dynamics in the team were good, etc. So that's kind of our lineup. Goal setting, really important in any sport to set goals. So 2016, NFTO, we won the bronze medal at the World Championships in Chicago, which is, it's pretty incredible. It was a huge achievement. It's the first medal that I had won internationally, and that was probably my 7th or 8th World Championships or something. So what an incredible thing to do. But you can see, gosh, you just put a bit more work in, a little bit more. We changed the lineup a little bit. We committed a lot more time to jumping, etc. And so in 2018, we won the silver medal in Australia, which was absolutely fantastic, behind the French. The Americans were behind us then. And the French team at the time were just so incredibly strong. I mean, they were miles ahead of us, and then we fortunately were reasonable distance ahead of the third place. So, that was quite a nice, enjoyable competition to do. But we kind of looked at that and said, we know we could do it. The French were changing their lineup. They were changing their team. So we knew that they would have a couple of years of rebuild. So we set our sights on 2020 and said, right, let's try and do it this year. And obviously, as you know, 2020 was an absolute write-off for most people. So that was the end of us training, end of us being able to go to a competition. And even though the championships was postponed, we were unable to go in 2021 because of British skydiving didn't feel it was safe for any competitors to go to that event. So it was a very small event and we couldn't do it. So 2022 was the year. We could see what was happening. The French were still in this sort of position. We could see where the Americans were and all the other female teams, what they were up to. So we set goals at the start of that year. We wanted to be world champions, but we wanted to do the best that we could do. And basically, we knew there's 3 really strong teams, but we should do everything that we can do. So we looked at literally inches in order to make that happen. So whatever we could do, we could change the way that we thought. Anything, we did absolutely everything in order to get there. So what does that look like? In terms of training, over the course of 2022, we did 530 skydives. That basically equates to, normally when we train, we do 10 to 12 jumps a day, but we're looking at pretty much a week a month. We would be away. So we started off the year in Dubai because we wanted to get quite a few jumps in before Europe kind of opened. And obviously the UK weather is not ideal for team training. So, we did a couple of camps in Dubai and then we moved to Spain. And so literally we do 5-day camps. So we would arrive on a particular night, do 5 days of jumping and then hop back, get back home and get back to work, etc. We also did about 40 hours of tunnel training, probably over a little bit of a longer period, but certainly a lot of training, looking at with a coach, analysing everything that we could do to change. In terms of fitness, it's so critical that we were as fit as possible and that there was no, to avoid injury, to avoid sickness, to avoid any chance of things kind of going wrong. So when we were not jumping, we were definitely doing exercise every day. I spend maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours a day exercising, just to make sure that I'm fitter and stronger. And I'm the oldest in the team, so that's means that you've got to be to make sure that you can keep up with everyone else, basically. And then we also looked at nutrition. It was really important. We're all different sizes and weights. I'm the heaviest person in the team, so it's really important that I keep my weight down as light as possible so that we can move well, but then you're compatible with the team. So you're kind of studying all these, as I say, inches. And that might be, you're not having an extra glass of wine. And even when I was exercising, I'd sit on the bike and think, could really get off now. And then you're like, look, I'll do another 20 minutes, could make the difference between winning and not, So you're looking at such tiny things. We spend a lot of time on the mental side. It's visualizing skydives, So, I drive a car around. If I see a registration that looks like a skydive, I'll actually walk that skydive in my head. I mean, I know I may be slightly mad. But, we often used to send each other dives to little draws to visualize. I like watching videos. I like watching other teams do moves, like watching what I've done before and try and, visualize that. We worked with a sports psychologist who really helped us. And we learned so much about each other, actually, in that process of how, what do you need when if you have a bad day or if you're a bit tired or grumpy, whatever, or we have a bad round, what do you want in that environment? And some people want to be left alone, other people want a big hug, other people want to just move on to the next one, don't talk about it and let's carry on, How do you deal with that? We also set team values, of like what is important to us. And often, when you're tired and hot and just exhausted, you know, you refer back to those values and say, right, this is why we're here, because, and it's the journey that's the most important. We have all used the Headspace app, so we'd spend quite a lot of time. There's a sports competition course, which is brilliant, and sports concentration, actually. So that's something that's really very cool. And then hurdles, you know, we hit a lot of hurdles. Because of COVID, basically, our lineup had changed. And then also, you know, we lost quite a bit of sponsorship before. So all the previous World Championships, we'd managed to get quite a bit of support from British Skydiving financially. And that because of COVID, there just was no money available. So, you know, we had to make the decision and say, right, we need £140,000, whatever it is, in order to compete and to have a chance of winning, you know. And it was, and in that end, every single member of our team put in every spare cent that they had. I actually sold a house in order to pay for the team, so that I would be able to pay for more. You know, it wasn't all equal. Everyone put in what they could to make this thing happen. So, you know, you're making some really quite serious sacrifices, which you pay for afterwards when you're now poor skydiving bum. But at the time, it didn't matter. You know, this is what we wanted to do. As I mentioned, you know, Kath worked in the NHS, so she had limited leave, and she literally would finish working, say on a Friday evening, would get in her car at 5 o'clock, drive to the airport, catch a flight to Barcelona, drive up to Emporia Brava. She would then arrive at our accommodation at 2 in the morning. We would be up at 7. Either go and fly in the tunnel for 15 minutes and then get to the drop zone, or we're doing some kind of exercise to make sure that we're ready to go. We do that for 5 days. So 5 days jumping, finish jumping on the 5th day, get back in the cars, drive back to the airport. She would get home at 2 in the morning and would be up at 6 to go to work. And and she had no leave. I mean, that, you know, we used every second of leave. So she had no nice holidays with husbands or anything like that. And that's, you know, that is such a massive commitment to make. Right, trust and teamwork. Trust, I think, is everything. So teamwork, you know, it's looking at the strengths and weaknesses. You know, we needed to work together to get the best result. And, you know, a team, no, you're not competing against each other. There's quite a thing I often find, I'm doing quite a bit of coaching now, in teams where people want to show that they can skydive faster than someone else. It doesn't benefit the team to do that. You need to fly at the same speed. You need to get the flow and the rhythm, and you need to focus on what people are good at. We obviously drilled and drilled and drilled a block that we weren't very good at, an exit that we weren't very good at. You know, you do that to make sure that you can lift the whole team up. And, you know, in every competition, you know, you're always going to have a bad round. You know, how do you behave after that? You know, the one thing I talk a lot about when I'm coaching is it's not fearing failure. You know, you are going to fail, and fail, in fact, in some ways is how you learn. So, you know, if you don't take that chance, or if you don't try something new, you know, and you make a mistake, you're not going to learn where the line is, you know. So it's so important. I feel that the strong team, you know, you have to be united and supportive. I know if I make a mistake, my team will support me. And I feel the same way about them. You know, and if you have bad days, you know, don't give up. You've got to keep your head up high, and you just, you know, you keep going. Train hard, fight easy, you know. So, and it's just, and it's trust is the other thing that I can't quite explain enough, that in a competition, you know, I absolutely trusted that my teammates could do what they said they were going to do. You know, even if you're, you know, someone's weaker on some particular exit or whatever, if you trust that they are going to do their job in your mind, then you know you have to do your job. And often what happens, if you don't believe that person's going to leave the plane at quite the right time, you tend to change what you're going to do, and then the whole thing doesn't work. So you've kind of got to have that belief and that trust to let things go. I mentioned sort of hurdles earlier on. So we had been, a month before we're going to go to the World Championships, we have been training so hard. We're in a brilliant position. We've done about 450 jumps together. We're in a great place. We're watching the French and Americans, any other team that's training or competing at their nationals. We go and do the draw. We compare ourselves with them. We can see where we're at. And then literally a month before the World Championships, the biggest hurdle that we'll ever face, British Skydiving suspended one of our team members. And this was following a false allegation. So what this meant was suddenly we've kind of given up everything in order to go and do this thing. But what this meant firstly was that we were unable to compete at British Skydiving Nationals, and we were the national champions, so you're not able, and that had been part of the plan. The training jumps, then we would do this competition, that's a warm-up for the World Champs. So we were unable to compete at that. And then secondly, we actually couldn't go to the World Championships. So this is a month before. I've sold a house. No, everyone's absolutely broke. We're as fit as we could possibly be. We've got the best chance that we're going to do. And, we now are not able to go and we're not able to compete. But as a team, we were so strong, and we absolutely knew and believed that the team member that had been suspended was 100% innocent. We knew the whole thing was just not a bad dream, because it was a reality, but that we had, we believed in the team and we knew we were right. So we knew the truth and we knew we were right. And replacing a team member at that point was never an option. We would suggested that could happen, and then we could go to nationals and whatever. You can't, when you've done that many jumps together and you know each other so well, you cannot replace a cog in that, because no one else has trained with you. No one else is ready. Nobody else is at our level. And also that would have destroyed the team dynamics. So, all these inches that I've talked about, all the tiny little things suddenly seemed a bit ridiculous, because we then had to use every waking minute and every resource to prove that we were innocent. There was absolutely nothing going on, and that we, just to prove we could go. And this for us meant a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears, a lot of hard effort, but the fact is it was worth it, because we knew we were right and we knew we still had a chance, And when we said, look, we can't go to nationals, okay, we're going to Spain again. So we had to scrabble together to try and get more money to fly over to do another training camp there. And then basically we carried on fighting 1 week before. In fact, it was 6 days before myself and Sean were flying to Arizona that we got permission to go. So, and suddenly you're going, oh my gosh, right? Oh no, now we really are going. Crikey, you hadn't had time to do the mental visualization of when you arrive on that drop zone, how's it going to feel? How are people, what are the French going to look like? You suddenly are trying to catch up on all this stuff, scrabbling around, trying to get kits, trying to get everything else. But we arrived in Arizona, such a strong team, We had trained hard, and then actually the fight was going to be easy. We arrived with confidence and complete trust. We'd made the most ridiculous sacrifices in order to get there. And to the point that, and it's an interesting story, makes me feel a little bit emotional, but we were prepping a skydive. We hadn't even done one jump yet. We were literally just walking a jump, ready to get up in the aeroplane to go and do a first training jump there. And I happened to notice that the French coach was watching us, one of the French coaches. And after the competition, we heard that he had walked from us, gone back to the French delegation tent and said to the French girls team, you girls are fighting for second place, the Brits are going to win this, which is just such, an incredible thing. And that's not being arrogant, that's just being so strong and united. Right, one team, one dream, that was us. I think we did about 10 training jumps, and then round one. We get ready for round one, as described, sitting in the aeroplane, the nerves, you can hardly breathe. You feel almost like you've got hiccups, but you're just trying to calm yourself down. And literally, we were looking at each other, smiling, able to walk to the door of the aeroplane and think, this is just another skydive with some of the best people I've ever skydived with, So round one was a good jump. We landed, we finished 1 point ahead of the USA and 2 points ahead of France. Now, it's a 10-round competition, obviously anything can happen, you know, and there are competitions when you literally win by 1 point. You know, you're aiming for 200 points over the whole 10 rounds, but you could easily only be 1 or 2 points ahead of everyone else. So you know, you just have to keep pushing. You have to keep that focus. You have to keep that level of kind of anxiety and nerves. So round 2 was another good jump. We gained a point or 2 on both of the teams, and we just kept chipping away. Round 5 for us, which is the one I'm going to show you now, was relatively our best jump. It was the hardest exit for us to do, so we had a lot of kind of emotions about taking this particular exit out of the plane. And the jump we performed relative to the other teams particularly well. What you can see, I mean, everyone I'm sure has watched the skydiving video before, but you've got 35 seconds, the countdown's on the right hand side, and the yellow number is the points that you score. So you take the exit out, there we are, point 2, so it's block 2, block 9, and random M. And the classic thing about this is in training, we hardly ever made that block 2 catch. You know, the solo spins around and catches, and we almost missed that catch every time in training. And then during the competition, we nailed every single one, which was absolutely brilliant. And in fact, on this exit, I said it was one of the hardest exits for us. Block 2 is particularly hard to come out of the plane. And under canopy, when I landed next to Anna, because she had the really hard slot to get up and out for that exit, as we landed, she was in floods of tears that we'd pulled it off and we'd had a brilliant jump. So then we carry on. So after round 5, we're 9 points ahead of France and 12 ahead of the USA. And on after round 9, again, it's 9 points and 14. So we're in a strong position. But you know, it's very easy to say, oh, we can win this. But we know we've been 1 or 2 points ahead in competitions with the French before, and they've actually beaten us. So you've got to keep your head. You've got to believe, just be strong. And the skydive wasn't a particularly fast jump, so the chances are they wouldn't be able to catch us. So we leave the plane together, we're flying smoothly and precisely. It was a good, solid jump. And as we track away, we know that we are world champions. So on paper, there were 3 teams that were capable of winning the gold medal. All the teams had trained hard, all had made sacrifices. You know, it was in the inches, it was in every single little thing, the differences, the little things that we did, you know, and what all those small changes added up to us getting that gold medal. It's hard for me to speak today at the British Skydiving Expo because British Skydiving was the biggest hurdle that we hit, you know. But I feel it's so important for me to tell the story so that people understand kind of the sacrifices and the huge and the passion that we all have for the sport, you know. We knew it could have been our year, but we have such a huge amount of passion and we want to, you know, kind of impart that. And, you know, we want to tell the story because I want to raise awareness, you know, of what it actually takes to become a world champion, and then also of the hurdles that you can hit. And, you know, people need to question. You can't just assume that when the national body or whatever makes a decision that they are right. You know, if you know you are right and you're telling the truth, you just need to keep fighting to make sure that you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And you know, for us, we don't want this to happen. We don't want it to happen to us, but we definitely don't want it to happen to other people. So it's been an incredible journey. I'm still as passionate about skydiving as I've ever been. I just love it. I love bringing new people into the sport. I love it. Yeah, but it's not an easy journey. That's for sure. But always available to help. Okay, any questions? Have I stunned you all into silence? Yeah.
Vana, thank you for a fascinating insight in your journey to becoming a world champion in Arizona a couple of years ago. I'd like to know, at what point did you feel you had the potential to be world's best? Everyone kind of knows what's going on in the skydiving community. So we knew, as I think I mentioned, that the French had changed their lineup. The French have always been historically quite strong. So we knew that they were changing their lineup. So we kind of
knew that this was a good year to do it. But as I say, it may not have happened. And the fact is that if we had done the average and the skydivers that we did, and we came second or third, you've done your best, you know. So it's not so bad. Because we didn't compete at the nationals, nobody else knew what our scores were. So in some ways we felt maybe we have a little bit of an edge here, because when the French and the US nationals had taken place, we had done those draws, as we did the British draw. You know, in training, it's a different environment, but at least then you can see where you're at. And we were pretty solidly 1 or 2 points ahead, as in average, over the other team. So we knew we had a good chance, which was probably even more frustrating that we almost didn't get there, you know. But yeah, it's. I think it's not an arrogance because you want something so badly, but you have to believe that you're going to get there, you know. And if it doesn't work, you're not letting yourself down, you know. That's the fear of failure, you know. You need to face that and go for it, you know.
Thank you.
What about the process of what about the process of finding the right teammates, and then also did you not have an alternate? You just four in a team, and if somebody got injured, that was it.
Yeah, it's very hard with when you haven't got fund, when you're not a professional team, you know, you haven't got unlimited funding and money, you're using your own money to that. To have an alternate is a huge thing. I mean, what we tend to do, and I think we did it at the World Champs, was that we would have registered someone else as an alternate. You know, someone who was competing in the 8-way team or in one of the other teams. You know, we would have pull them just in case on round 9 someone hurt themselves. But you don't train at that level with someone. You know, it's the cost is too much. And because the nature of formation skydiving is every single jump is different. It's not like you're practicing a routine over and over again that, okay, now I'm going to slot you in and let's practice that routine. And now, you know, you just don't do that. So, and the selection process is not easy. I mean, I've been so lucky to find the incredible girls that the ladies, and Simon, that, you know, we fly with. Anna and Sian, we've been together pretty much for the longest. Kath was with us in 2018, and then she stepped down because the commitment is too big. And then we managed to persuade her to come back in 2022. Because the other point is dynamics, or everything. You know, we've tried to fly with other people, and suddenly it's just not clicking and working. I mean, you can, you've got to have people that have the same goals. That have the same long-term goals. You may have different reasons for having those goals or different desires and wants, but as long as you can work together to get to that end result. And it's hard to stay now, you know, to bring people up or to find other people that want to slot in and out of your team it's not an easy thing, you know, when you get to this sort of level. So it's not easy, that's for sure, is all I can say.
Just on a similar note, how hard is it to find the right camera person, like
who's
going to be at that level with you?
Well, that's the point. You have to have a camera person that trains with you all the time. I mean, Simon he was in an FTO before I was. I joined in 2016. And he just has such an incredible amount of experience. So we've been very lucky with him. I mean, you all know him. He's an amazing individual. But he works for us, and he's professional, you know. I think it's the same thing. And I think people don't realise how important the camera person is, because if you end up losing a couple of points on every round, if we had lost 2 points in every round, we would not have won, you know. So they are equally as important, and they need to get the kudos for that as well, you know. Doing a great job, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. On the topic of dynamics, you were saying for your team, how did you find when you hit those hurdles, your team dynamic changed, or did people react to the hurdles in different ways?
Everyone behaves differently, and that's the funny thing, you know. And when you get adversity, I mean, honestly for us, it pulled us together.
Vigil will be made. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to reply to that. In some ways, and I hate to say this.
Making their draw on their stand shortly, please. Please make your way to the vigil stand.
Okay. Anyone? Vigil? I love vigil. No, you know, because we had literally looked at every single thing that we could. But in some ways, I wonder if, and I have thought about this, that there was no, you know, I wasn't worried about where someone left the toothpaste, or, you know, we were fighting against a bigger cause, that actually we probably got a lot stronger, you know, and that, you know, someone was a bit grumpy in the morning, or someone doesn't want this. You don't see that anymore. I mean, all of us were absolutely exhausted. Half of it, we didn't sleep for about a month, you know. And the fact is that it was just so important to hold on to each other, you know. And so in some ways we were probably got stronger. And the truth is that when the French guys looking at us, I mean, honestly, the fight that we'd been through, actually jumping out of an airplane, that's not even a problem, you know. So in some ways you could, you know, you've got to take a positive from every situation. So, you know, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have won had we not had that adversity, but for sure we got stronger. And those you know, those people are such good friends of mine now. And you know, when I work with other teams, I say to them, you don't need to be best mates. The truth is, though, that those girls are for sure now. And that you've got it's not just standing on the podium and getting the medal, it's about the journey that we had to get there, you know. So. Come on, Martin.
Hi. I was just wondering, when you first started out as a novice, and you said you wanted to win stuff or be world champion, did you have any detractors? People would just say, be negative about that, or just say no? Oh yeah, absolutely. And the female thing was even better, you know. I mean, when I started jumping, so I'm talking 93, 94, you know, when I said to people in South Africa that, I want to win, you know, I want to win competitions, and they go, yeah, whatever, just go, you know, you're not going, you know, it's like, it's a very bad thing, but females were not taken seriously. I mean, when I met my husband, it's the classic joke that he likes to tell everyone. He just came up to talk to me, you know, there was a group of us chatting, and I actually looked at him and said, I'm just here to skydive, all right? You know, and he said it's the most rudest woman he'd ever met, you know. But the truth is, I didn't want to get chatted up by someone. I wanted to be here to skydive and to show what I could do. But no, I mean, no one's going to believe when you say you want that kind of goal, you know. It's, I mean, my son says it now, and he says he wants to become a world champion before my age, you know. But, you know, I love it. Just go for it, you know. And if you don't really, you know, really I wanted to win the local regional competition, and then I wanted to win nationals, and then you know, it doesn't matter what you are. But if you're competitive, you want to fight for it, you know. Thank you. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I want to be world champion.
Well done. Why not? I mean, I turned 50 last year, so I think I'm the oldest female world champion that there is, you know, and there's nothing to stop me. You know, everyone keeps asking me when I'm retiring. It's not going to happen. So. Anyone else? Cool.
Just as you're starting off, what do you kind of recommend to start getting into that sort of serious four-way training scheme sort of thing?
It's about finding people to jump with, and I think now, and I mean, I didn't have this because I was kind of pre-tunnels, but the wind tunnel is incredible. It's such a great facility to learn how to fly your body properly. You cut through hundreds of skydives by just learning how to fly well. You know, there's so many amazing coaches out there who can help you. So, and then you need to find some buddies that want to, you know, to make a team. And I love it. Come and talk to me. You know, we'll find you a team, you know.
Thank you.
And don't give up. That's the other point, clearly. I think I've managed to catch up time, so we're not going to be overspaced with this room. But yeah, great. Thank you very much for listening to me today. That's been amazing.